Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It all comes down to right here, right now. A fabled circuit with a fabled championship that hangs oh so delicately in the balance. The rules of the game are so simple. Finish ahead of the other person, and that is yours secured. That is what the championship is all about today, and that is what our focus is very much on here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Welcome to Speedway, Indiana, and a circuit steeped in racing history for the final round of your iRacing Grand Prix Tour here with SimSpeed TV. My name's Jake Sperry. Alongside me for the ride, as usual, is Jay Kennedy. Jay, what a circuit to end this season on. This is going to be all about having your wits ahead of you, because this track can be incredibly unpredictable in the most predictable of ways.
Yeah, the only thing to expect here is the unexpected, isn't it? Hello, everybody. It's going to be a fantastic end of the season. Our SimSpeed Championship only has 1 point in it, so it's all coming down to this. And what a way to end it at a very, very iconic track. Although a layout that has never been used in the real world for this style of car. IndyCar, obviously the closest, but yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very interesting race. Tough layout, shorter straights than what the drivers are used to at some other circuits, so it's going to very, very much depend on setup, mechanical grip, and very, very technically, driver's skill is going to be very, very impactful here too.
And that skill is going to be entirely crucial after what was a really tough race last time out at Detroit Belle Isle. Unfortunately, we weren't able to bring you pictures. We gave you coverage as long as we possibly could for that. But what we can say is that this is a 2.6 mile, 14 turn course, which does put a lot of emphasis on the qualifying and just how difficult it is to make overtaking happen around here. This is the sort of circuit that you turn and look at, Jay, and you look and wonder how difficult this track is going to be. You look and wonder, okay, what more are you going to have to do to get out of this? Because you've got great overtaking opportunities at turn 1, a great opportunity at turn 7, and if you're brave, you might have a chance at turn 12. But one thing is for certain, it is not a guarantee to get a pass here today.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed from like doing track maps and things like that is the straights now with this version, it's a lot shorter full throttle zone than what we see at most other circuits. So I think that's going to be a really interesting factor. Who's got the setup dialed to actually be able to make overtakes? I think there's going to be a few drivers that have gone for medium downforce. Others will go for the high downforce. And that'll probably be where a lot of the overtakes happen. Do you sacrifice your speed for your cornering through those technical sections at the end of the lap and through the middle of the lap? Or do you try and go high downforce for the straights? It's very, very tough to decide which is which and which to do.
Well, it's all about finding an opportunity, and let's talk championship with these opportunities. The iRacing Championship is all but secured, so that is done there, as Marcel Fassbender's 4,428 points is enough with him turning up today. Any amount of points with the drops he has is enough to hold off Anthony Catt, with Tobias Saal third, Jordan Gronkowski fourth, and Connor Pooler currently in fifth. Jacob Reed can still snipe that third place in the championship as he goes through. He does hold, though, in the SimSpeed Championship, a 1-point margin here at the top over Marcel Fassbender. Whoever finishes in front of the other is going to take the victory, Jay. Jordan Gronkowski and Anthony Catt, a great scrap for third and fourth as well.
Yeah, and we'll have, fingers crossed it's working, live points up on screen throughout the race so that we can keep a track on that as well, because it is a very, very cool fight. It's been cool to watch a different sort of championship throughout this season as well. So looking forward to seeing how it plays out. There's still battles all the way through as well. 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th still undecided as well as 5th and 6th. So lots of two-car little groups within that championship as well. Quickly talk about the race though, because that's what we're here for. 73 laps feels like a long distance, but it is a very, very fast lap, around about 65 odd seconds when we get into race pace. Of course, needing to use the 2 tyre compounds. And tyre life, I think you're going to be surprised when you see these numbers, Fairy, but tyres are probably something we don't really need to talk about. They are going to last a long time.
Well, the thing here in iRacing is that we use C2, C3, and C4 tyres. So this might be the sort of circuit here where 25 to 30 laps on the softs, we're not going to have too much of an understanding of what they do. It's a long pit lane time as well, so expect a lot of loss. Let's take a look at the starting grid here because we are getting lined up. Marcel Fassbender puts it on the pole position here with a 103.063 and has Tobias Saal for company on the front row. Jorge Martinez starts third and Jacob Reed will have it all to do from fourth place if he wants to win the SimSpeed Championship. Jordan Gronkowski goes in fifth with George Van Rensburg qualifying there in sixth position as Emily Van Camp and Cesare Manzato make up the fourth row of the grid. Ninth position belongs to Paul O'Regan, a very consistent qualifying effort from him, with Dan Piazza rounding out the top 10 as Florian Kammeyer and Adam Cohen go off of row number 6. 13th is Kent Nielsen, with Jason Green, the only driver this season to have started every single SimSpeed Championship race, with Timothy Vaughan and Anthony Catt on an alternate strategy down there in 16th position. He's got a lot of work to do to beat Jordan Gronkowski today. Doriano Ricciuti is 17th. Edward Apare-Arie will be in 18th place. And the final driver is Seb Alexander. His first start was last time out. He had a non-finish to his name at the Motor City Detroit Belle Isle. There is one of the most infamous timing towers on the left-hand side. There is Barney the Flagman up in the stands. Here is 73 laps to decide a championship, an all-important championship as the green flag drops and we are underway. It's not the greatest start by Jorge Martinez from third position as everybody looks to try and shuffle and find an avenue. Marcel Fassbender got a fantastic start here as they rush into the heavy braking zone, the 90-degree right here of turn 1. There goes Jacob Reed down the inside. Immediately he's through. Contact for Jordan Gronkowski. Back there in 5th position. He's got to make sure he stays out of trouble. Just about managed it here as they now head through the right-handers here that makes the opening sector.
Great start from Anthony Catt, already gained a few spots and up into 10th. No surprise that he's made a few positions, but great start from him. Emily Van Camp now feeling the pressure. That group behind, lots of side-by-side. 3 wide coming into turn 7. Oh, big lunge!
Oh, look at that, straight on. And there is Skittle Alley. Florian Kammeyer gets taken out in the hit by Edward Apare-Arie, who could not get his car stopped. His Mercedes W13 Performance ends up in a world of hurt, and that opening lap was not what he wanted. Clear then off of the front, but the key here, one driver starts on the soft. That's Cesare Manzato.
I'm surprised it's only one car on the softs. I mean, I'm not surprised to see someone starting on the softs, but I'm surprised it's only one. So the strategy very, very limited here. We saw with that tyre life that you pretty much want to do medium soft because the mediums will get you past halfway, the softs will get you home. The only alternate to that is to start on the softs and finish on the mediums. Even Gronkowski, who started alternate to everyone else all season long, starting on softs, even he's starting on the mediums. So it really narrows up the strategy. It means it's all going to come down to driver skill here.
It's very much a case where the Lucky 8 Ball thought that he'd start on an opposite strategy, but they said try again later. Gronkowski, though, looking backwards off of the start of this race. That's George Van Rensburg just behind, and that will be a cause for concern in the early stages of this race. Gronkowski needing to find a rhythm early. Lap 3 soon about to start here, and that will mean the introduction of your DRS, your drag reduction system, which will allow that effective overtaking aid on the straights. Jacob Reed down by 6 points on Marcel Fassbender, but remember, it's a 7-point swing if the overtake is made. On the front stretch, look out for the race lead, because there goes Jacob Reed to the outside, trying to find the pass on Marcel Fassbender. It's going to be a battle of brakes, which Marcel wins. Saul waits and lurks in the background.
It's going to be a fantastic battle the whole way through this race. Marcel taking that extra bonus point at this stage away from these two at the front as well. So that could be the deciding factor, is the bonus point. If these guys get shuffled back in the field, the DRS flap open now for Jacob Reed. He's going to get this move done very, very easily.
Look at that, straight around the outside and gets it sorted then through the 90-degree left-hand bend. Absolutely wonderfully done. What is turn 7 on this circuit. So no qualms there. Jacob Reed in command of his destiny at the front of this field. There is Tobias Saul. Now it's a very early activation marker here. There, the green light goes on the dash, but you've got to traverse 3 corners to make sure you can actually use it.
Yeah, and difficult corners too, because they all feel like they're 90-degree corners, but they're not. They're all really bizarre angles, slightly over 90. When you get a corner that's slightly over 90 degrees, it really then triggers you into working out the exact point when to apply the brake and start to turn in. It does mess with the brain a little bit when you get those over 90-degree corners. This track definitely messes with the brain, especially with the pace. We're already seeing lap times in the 66-second bracket.
It goes to show how these drivers are struggling then in the early goings. But 66 seconds, okay, burning that fuel, doing well. Here's a look at what happened with Edward Apari here. So he looks down to the inside, misses his mark by about 50 meters, prays for a gap. And Florian Kammeier, well, he was absolutely unsighted there. There is no way that he would have had any clue what was coming across him.
Did a good job to avoid most of the cars and only make contact with one. It's just unfortunate for Kammeier that he was the car that got hit there, and I'm sure that there was no intent at all. That just looked like a very, very honest lap 1 mistake. Distracted from so many cars so wide in front of him. Probably couldn't even see his braking point, and now, way back in the field, actually looking in the InSim chat, lots of sorry being said. Jacob Reed steals that fastest lap bonus point away. Marquez steals it straight back.
Yeah, Marquez with the DRS then and the draft, able to claw back in that margin with Saul there as well. Marcel Fassbender is hoping for a bit of help. Here's a little look around the outside. Oh, Anthony Cat, brilliantly done against Ken Nielsen, who now finds himself rubber duck sitting, looking about. It was Nielsen who was looking for the move down the inside, couldn't quite pick it up, found himself with mirrors full of Doriano Ricciuti. He's now lost the place to Adam Cohen. You look behind Adam Cohen now, you've got Paul O'Regan in the mix. So here is Ricciuti, straight back through on the inside, in towards the left of 7, and once again, gets it fantastically sorted through. Timothy Vaughan now on the back.
Great little fight back in the field. Just shows again this series has been all about lots of different battles. You want to make sure that you're in a fight. This is a series that you're always going to find someone to battle with, which is always fantastic. Love how this field has sort of been kept together, haven't they? They haven't really split up like we normally would see. The groups have not spread apart like we have seen in other races.
Marcel Fassbender with the fastest lap bonus point now puts himself only 7 points back with that. That was a crucial moment for him to get that bonus point sorted, but that was even more crucial in the fact that over the line he was 1.1 back. He brought the gap down to 0.8 over the lap, so he's really put a great amount of work in. This secondary group runs through that modified chicane. They don't go all throughout around the houses anymore like they used to. It is such a quick left-right chicane here on the rescanned Indianapolis.
It's very, very quick corner in every car, and we've seen in the real world in NASCAR, cars go through there and absolutely tear their cars apart, bouncing over those curbs. So they'll be wanting to make sure that they use the curbs wisely, use them to help them through the corner and not hinder them through the corner. Easier said than done around this track. Interesting to see that Tobias Saul is the one that's now starting to apply a lot of pressure to Marcel Fassbender back at the front. Fassbender's not been able to close that gap down as much as we may have expected. And Tobias Sale is just there to say, hey, don't make an error trying to get that move done because I'm going to steal that spot straight away.
But 3 or 4 times over the course of this race, I've seen Marcel Fassbender lock up a front tyre. He's not been the cleanest, the most consistent, but part of that you would feel here, Jay, is the dirty air effect. I think that's what's hurting him more than anything else, that he's struggling, and especially that final corner, you can lose anywhere up to about 0.3 of a second, just unable to put that power down. This is a high downforce circuit's nightmare. Here, rushing through these middling speed right-handers. You have to wait for Aja Turnham to put the power down.
100% you do. Could be timing your throttle point perfectly. This is the segment I was talking about before. You see, you think you can get on the throttle, but you've just got to keep turning that tiny little bit more. And it makes you second guess the exact turning point. Fassbender does have the DRS. Let's see what speed he can get up to. I'm going to say about 310. 305 he tops out at.
Yeah, so that is a higher downforce setup here for Marcel Fassbender. It's going to make him very difficult, or make it very difficult for him to overtake here today. He might need the pit stops to go and give him that advantage. By comparison, Tobias Sale with the DRS behind him was 7 kilometers an hour faster on the front stretch. That's going to be a cause of concern for Marcel Fassbender if he does fall outside of the 1 second range.
It's looks like the first driver in the field to be running medium downforce is George van Rensburg. He's running the medium downforce. The top 5 are all running the high downforce setting. Sorry, the low downforce setting. Lower downforce setting. Manzardo, Van Camp, Pat, Cohen, and O'Regan also running that lower downforce package as well.
So everyone trying to prioritise the straights here today, and they think that that's going to be the key to winning in this race. Remember, they are under Parc Fermé conditions after qualifying. It's not going to be something that they can easily change in terms of what they need to do. Ooh. Little search to the inside from Tobias Sale, and it's a very, very tight opening corner. It used to be this flowing, expansive opening corner, and very much the rescan then of turn 1 has profiled that corner to be a lot tighter, which makes it a lot more definitive of an overtaking place. It also makes it a lot more difficult.
Yeah, the turn 1-2 sequence was a lot more of a sweeping corner, wasn't it, back on the old layout? Now it's a lot tighter, big, heavy braking zone now, which is great for some cars, not for others. I think for this sort of car, it's much better. It entices potential passing opportunities. That sweeping corner wasn't really the best for passing. So now it's a much better circuit.
Oh,
Marcel! Marcel Fassbender.
What a save. He went absolutely gung-ho into the brakes. He looked like he'd locked that one up, somehow able to save it. It's cost him about 0.7 of a second. So he'll get the DRS here, but he's probably lost that streak of DRS when he next goes on to the next straight. Jacob Reed realises it. Marcel Fassbender's making small mistakes, and they're starting to add up here.
They are starting to add up. It's starting to hurt him a lot, isn't it? It's really starting to feel the pressure from behind. See a look here, and there's also been an incident back in the field, which will bring a replay of that in a second, but that's just the pressure starting to build, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the margins are huge right now in terms of what they've got to try and race with, but the margins are tight in terms of the points. Now here is that little look. Down the inside goes the move, and Anthony Catt takes a tap there from behind, does he?
Yeah, that's Kent Nielsen, who's just giving him a little tap. Had the DRS advantage down the straight and just threw it up the inside, but way too late on the brakes. A little tap. Checked up that pack behind, but they've all got through unscathed, which is good to see. We're already 10 laps in, Sperry. This race is flying by.
It is flying, and it will only fly more once the pit stop window gets itself into view. A lot of drivers are searching around for those places where they can make overtakes. One such battle right now as Marcel Fassbender sets another fastest lap to get himself back in range is Cesare Manzato here against Dan Piazza. This for 7th and 8th places here. This is an incredible little battle that they've got going on. Emily Van Camp, she's there just behind in the background in 9th. She'll also want to get through. Manzato, of course, wants to get through on those soft tyres and use them, but of course he'll have to pay the piper at a different point in the race.
Yeah, exactly right. You'll suffer the consequence. Oh! If you can't make it clean, just elbows out and get past that way. Move done, but you wouldn't say that was a clean one.
No, it's the sort of case where he was going to give racing room, and that is 0.9 of a car's width there, it seemed, at that point.
I don't even think he gave that much room. It's just slot your wheels in between the wheels of the other car and force them a little bit wide. Piazza's gone, oh, well, okay, you can go through. And as he said, he's going to pay the price for that later on in regards to the tyres. Now Emily Van Camp's closing in very, very quickly here.
Yeah, these are ideal racing conditions today. It's 26 degrees, track temperature, no wind really to speak of here at Speedway, Indiana. So this is very much a circuit here today, which is, as I would say, race ready as you could possibly get.
100%. Great conditions for racing. The track's not too hot, which we've seen throughout the season. It's been very, very warm at a lot of races. Kent Nielsen versus Anthony Catt Part 2 coming up here. Feels like it's about to happen again. This was about the same gap they had the previous time they made contact. Anthony Catt is running different wing settings, so a little bit slower. Here comes Kent Nielsen.
Looking for the inside again, but once more, it's not quite there. And the patience is going to have to build up. A little bit of locking up there as we see going through, which has stayed its course at this moment in time. So a lot of drivers are looking around thinking, well, what do we need to do? These colder conditions more conducive to locking, but it also means that this track is running at its fastest temperatures that we got out there. Here's a little SimSpeed replay then of where those locks seem to happen. And that is more than a lock. That is a huge fishtail there from, I believe that would have been Dan Piazza.
Yep. Let's Emily Van Camp through and into now position number 8. Here comes Nielsen looking up the inside once again, and there's move done.
And he's going to hang him out as well. Thank you very much. See you later. That is brilliantly done in terms of the scrap between those two. But watch out! There, just behind, is Doriano Ricciuti, searching for a move, over-aggressive, and it puts Adam Cohen into place.
Yep, Cohen gets through. Oh, this is going to be nasty. 3 wide to the braking zone at turn 7. Who's going to get through? Vaughan backs out of it smartly. Lets Adam Cohen through. And Anthony Catt's lost another spot to Ricciuti. So this is turning out to be a disaster for Anthony Catt. Great start. Got himself up into the top 10. He's now back to 12th.
And crucially, his number that he's looking at is 16 here, Jay. 16 seconds behind Jordan Gronkowski. This is a disastrous start to his race.
Yeah, he needs Gronkowski to have some sort of issue to close that time back up. But, yeah, easier said than done to close up 16 seconds around this track. Especially when it looks like he's struggling a little bit as well. So, Catt having a bit of trouble. And he's going to lose another spot here to Adam Cohen. So, wondering... is it that Catt's gone completely the wrong way? Oh, how's that for keeping the position around the outside? Well done from Anthony Catt. He showed a lot of ambition there. Probably shouldn't have held the spot.
Yeah, he's done well. He's holding positions quite nicely, but the issue that he's running into here today is that it might just be a track that doesn't suit him. We've talked about Anthony Catt, how consistency has been his best friend all season. It's not been easy. There goes Timothy Vaughan. He goes lunging up the inside, and it looks like he has that secured, and he absolutely does, taking the apex as he loves it through 8 and 9 and into the right of turn 10. He very much takes that place. Remember, Timothy Vaughan, earlier on in the season, was on podium 4.
Yeah, Timothy Vaughan's had a very inconsistent season. Unfortunately for him, it's been inconsistent, but he has had pace to be right up at the pointy end throughout. So we'll be hoping he can redeem himself and get himself further forward in this one. I'll say it's great to see a good contingent of AusNZ drivers here on a very early Saturday morning.
I would say it's very nice to see the AusNZ drivers on what I would describe as a very nice Friday night. On the brakes in towards the opening corner, and Cohen will look behind at Paul O'Regan, who will not make the move, who always errs on the side of caution in his races. There is the front of the field, and third position's Tobias Saal. Jorge Martinez on the back is the quiet driver in 4th position. Now, all of these drivers will be looking around at everyone else, one of these drivers will have to break the bubble to decide who is going to be in and who is going to be out in terms of pit stops. Little ways away already at this point, but still, I would say that's not great. Jason Green on the driver who's made the full starts, and there is the missing front wing and the culprit, Florian Kammeyer.
Yep, Kameyer's run into the rear of him through turn 7. We'll get it on the replay here. He's just outbroke himself. Tiny little bit of contact, and around he goes.
Yeah, that is not the nicest hit in the world. And for Jason Green, he will now look to scrabble about. And it's a very, very long pit lane here at Indianapolis. Here comes a little search to the inside from Fassbender, looking for the championship lead with that pass. Couldn't quite manage it.
On the pit lane, one thing about this pit lane is it's not only long, it's also slow. So that's something the drivers will have to take into consideration, which is probably why we'll see one stop throughout the race. I wanted to talk about at the front of this field too. Remember, not that long ago, we were looking at a 5-car battle. We're down to 4. Gronkowski has dropped from this group.
He has. He's 4.5 seconds off the race lead. I will correct myself. It's Seb Alexander who ended up in the back there of Jason Green. So that's where the incident all occurred. But you're absolutely right. This is one where Jordan Gronkowski is not able to keep up the same pace. But what I would say over the last 3 to 5 laps or so, Jay, is that he has been very consistent at staying in and around 4.5 seconds off of the race lead. He's keeping that distance and keeping himself as a factor in this race.
It's just keeping it consistent, isn't he? He's not doing anything out of the ordinary. Just there, isn't he? He's making sure he maintains the gap to the drivers in the battle that he needs to be in. Doing nothing more, nothing less. Exactly what you need to do in these sort of races. Battle back with Cohen, Cat, O'Regan. Anthony Cat's lost another 2 spots, by the way. Florian Kammeyer closing in on these guys. He'll probably still have a little bit of damage from that lap 1 incident as well. Anthony Cat is dropping very, very quickly through the field after that great start.
Yeah, it's not going great for him, is it? And you just sort of get that feeling it's going to be one of those days for him. And sometimes every single driver goes out there and gets one, and it's the last thing that you hope for is that you're on your B game or your C game. You hope to be on your A game every single time you're around. 1 second place this season and a number of thirds. That's been the way that Anthony Cat's gone about it. Here, down in the position he's in, 210 points stuck on at this point in time. He's not going to be a happy bunny. Why not? His name's Cat.
That's a bad attempt at a pun.
Yeah.
And I'll let it go.
Good.
I'm sure you don't want me to keep going and harping on that one. No, I won't. Interesting as well that just going back to look at Gronkowski, has actually had a couple of inconsistent laps where he's dropped into the 107, mid 107. So it hasn't been completely smooth sailing for Jordan Gronkowski in his little dropping back from this group. But as you said, since he's been back at this 4-odd second gap, it's maintained around that gap. Fassbender's looking like he wants this move. Oh, here we go.
Around the outside. Who's going to give each other enough room? Just about space given. And he's going to try and shut the door off the exit. Brilliant stuff. Round the outside of 3. He holds on. Marcel Fassbender takes the race lead from Jacob Reed.
What a move that was. And look at the gap that he's already started to pull. So I'm thinking he's saved his battery and looked straight into harvest mode. So I reckon he'd saved his battery.
Not yet.
Oh! Ow.
Thought about it, not quite there. And Jacob Reed is very much looking to get back to the point as quickly as possible. And they're off in the side. That's Jason Green there again around, this time coming out of 9.
Yeah, I think the car hasn't been fully repaired since he come back out from that incident. He had a 2.5 odd minute pit stop and come back out with damage still and just try and limp it home to finish the race from here and try and keep out everyone's way. Would have been the only way he could keep it out of trouble. Have a look at Fassbender trying to break the toe. Not going to be able to break the toe with how aggressive it is here.
And especially with how quick Jacob Reed is in a straight line, 310 kilometers an hour. Fassbender trying to hold around the outside. He can't manage it this time. Jacob Reed back to the front of the race.
Ooh.
With that overtake, big snap of oversteer from Fassbender. Saves the car and crucially his championship with it.
Wow, that could have ended in disaster there for Marcel Fassbender. He did a great job to hold on. I thought that could have been race over, but he's done a very, very good job of holding onto the position. And we'll continue on in second. Didn't lose any ground at all to the guys behind as well. They sort of dropped back to make sure that there wasn't any contact within the field. Also just seen Emily Van Camp has made a very, very good pass to get up now into 7th position.
Yep, she's through on Cesare Manzato, whose soft tyres are now starting to crumble a little bit by comparison. So that comfortable for Emily. She now moves up to 7th. Her next challenge, George van Rensburg, who's a few seconds down the road. Now, here's a look at the move, and it looks like that was already scored complete. So that's their troubles, Timothy Vaughan.
Sorry, I clicked the wrong button there, Sperry, but yes, the move was already done by the time I brought up that replay there. Yeah, Timothy Vaughan's just had a big moment there. I'll try and get replays sorted again. My brain's not working properly this morning.
Well, that is a very nice move from Emily Van Camp. And Timothy Vaughan running into troubles, not what the doctor ordered. But front four have remained as it is at the moment. And I tell you what, if you are Tobias Sal or Jorge Martinez, you are breathing heavily at every braking zone. The last thing you want to do is get involved in it. Here is what happened to Timothy Vaughan on the brakes. Turn 7, turns into the corner, high-siding over the curb, and loses the grip with 2 tyres stuck in the air.
The worst part is, look at that, 3 cars just drove on by. I think that's one of the big factors of this race is the mistakes. They're amplified here because of how compacted the field is together. The field's in clumps, the field's in groups. We haven't seen that for a long time in this series, how grouped up this field is. And those little side-by-sides we saw with Reed and Fassbender, Gronkowski's gained half a second on these guys. So they are losing pace to everyone around them when they battle like they were.
They are losing a little bit of ground, but that is not their main priority at this moment in time. Winning the race very much is. They flick through 5 and 6 here at over 230 kilometers an hour and then really attack this massive long straight. Fassbender gets right up underneath the gearbox before hitting the brakes. He is looking to try and will the pro stripe Jacob Reed into a mistake. Martinez watching, stalking here in 4th position. Tobias Sal runs a little bit wide out of 10. Might have an opportunity to attack if Sal maybe falls outside the 1 second bracket.
I think Martinez is just conserving tyres, probably conserving a bit of fuel as well to make sure that he's got extra fuel to burn later on. Content there, but yeah, you're right. Sal's starting to drop a little bit. It's down to 0.8 of a second. We'll close it back up again with the DRS, but comes Fassbender again.
Round the outside again!
Oh, no!
Contact between the title contenders. Reed will scamper on through. There was netcode there, but Marcel Fassbender now is back in 4th.
Wow, this is huge for this championship. Marcel Fassbender back into 4th position after the smallest bit of contact. A bit ambitious of a move going around the outside, but we've seen it work. But yeah, it ended in disaster there for Fassbender, only now starting to get his rhythm back.
I tell you what, it could have been a lot worse. He could have been fully spun around and outside of the range. There's a change now for the race lead. Tobias Sal's gone through. There's the contact that goes through. That small slithered hit there onto the side. Yes, there was a bit of netcode there. That wouldn't have been helpful. But Tobias Sal taking advantage here of Jacob Reed running a little bit wide there through 7, through 8 and 9, and he goes through. Fassbender makes another tiny little mistake now over at turn, the penultimate corner, turn 13, missing the apex slightly, and he's very nearly out of DRS range, if not already is. Martinez is searching. Jacob Reed now looking to try and get back to the race lead. Sal has to let him have it.
And this little fight between Reed and Sal there, that will help Marcel Fassbender because he'll be able to close down a couple of tenths, which then gets him back in DRS range. All of a sudden, he's only half a second back from the next car. He doesn't have to worry about being in range because he's well and truly back in it. Fassbender's back in the race. How quick has this changed?
Jordan Gronkowski, look at him. He's only 1.3 back there. So now it's a 5-car battle here for the race win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A title is there too, as again, Marcel Fassbender slightly struggling with his range on the brakes. He's overextending these braking zones, and that's what's costing him here in terms of understeer. Everybody else is getting that opportunity here to break away. On the brakes they go once more through 12 into 13 here. This long, agonizing left-hander, which leads into another long, agonizing right-hander here at 14. But it's now Jorge Martinez who's eyeing up that second place.
Yeah, Martinez is ready to pounce here on Tobias Sal. Sal hasn't had the pace down this front straight for most of the race. It's been a little bit inconsistent. Oh, contact between them. And now, all of a sudden, DRS range is broken. Jacob Reed, for the first time all race long, will have an over 1 second advantage at the front. No green light on Jorge Martinez's car.
And the key there was just how Martinez tried to make that move. He locked up the car, and because of that, went straight on, made a bit of contact, cost him the 1 second, and the range there to Jacob Reed. Now he's got to do it on pure pace, but he also doesn't have as much dirty air to deal with, so he can cut through the air, be a little bit more aggressive with his lines through the corner, and now we can really start to see what sort of pace Jorge Martinez has.
Yep, Martinez time to put the foot down, and all of a sudden, bang, back within a second. Look, green light back on, so the DRS range now active. Here we go. This is interesting. Tobias Sal in. 48 laps to go. I don't think you can do this on a set of softs. We've seen 33 be the most all week.
Well, if he can go 48 laps on a set of soft tyres to keep himself in this race, my word, will he be legendary in terms of this. Here's another look then at that move.
This is Dan Piazza.
That didn't work for the likes there of Dan Piazza, and then off in avoidance there. Richie Uti, was that?
Yep. Richie Uti had to get out of the way. Make sure he didn't make contact. This has turned into an interesting little race, hasn't it? It's so much going on so early on.
Absolutely, and we are right there in the window. You can see pit lane time and stop time on the right-hand side of your screen for Tobias Sal, which will give an indication 4.3 seconds in the box, and he will now look for a transit time off and away again, and he gets that 48.4 seconds, and it is a very, very interesting... Oh, Sal spun it! Coming off of the pit exit!
Oh, and a second slide too. Sal trying the alternate strategy, and it's just gone absolutely south for him. There's been an incident back in the field too. Adam Cohen and Richie Uti have both made contact with each other.
So it's all starting to become fireworks here, every which way you look. So Richie Uti then, and Adam Cohen. It was Cohen trying to pass Richie Uti for position, and Richie Uti ends up trying to turn in for a corner. And Adam Cohen just completely blew it. Look at that.
Wow. That's huge, isn't it? Big, big contact. And here we go. This is the one for Tobias Sal. Takes forever before you're allowed to put the power down. Finally gets the power down. And, oh! Does a good job of holding on. And then almost loops it around again.
I think what you have to realise is that pit exit, which funnels out in the exit of 1 into 2, it is very much a section of track where you can slide and lose so much from it. Look at that gap now, 1.5 seconds between Martinez and Fassbender. Jacob Reed has got the gap, and you may even argue at this point in time, does not need this race win, can let Martinez go and not have a scrap for it and try and keep this going, or try and keep him ahead. The longer that he battles, the more likely Fassbender comes back into it.
Yep, exactly right. Got to plan when to actually fight. Although the positive for Jacob Reed is have a look at who's closing in on Marcel Fassbender. Jordan Gronkowski, who was out of the battle, is all of a sudden back into it again. So Gronkowski now finds himself well and truly in the fight. Adam Cohen leaves the pits. He's come in and got a new front wing, no surprise there. Richie Uti with a very long stop.
I knew everything there for Doriano Richie Uti with how that's going. 28, 29, 30 seconds. He might not leave at this point in time. Here's another little battle, though, that's starting to bring itself into play right now. This rushing through is Manzato versus Kent Nielsen here for position. Nielsen now has the place, has taken that away on this lap from Cesare Manzato, so he now falls back another place. Sal, in his anger and frustration, sets the fastest lap of the race, a 105.7. Worth noting, black and orange mechanical flag for Richie Uti. In comes Edward Apari. RE and Tobias Sal is on softs.
So there's every chance that he'll have to come in and do a 2-stop race. You're hearing in the YouTube chat that Connor Pullers there cheering on Tobias Sal, saying he can do it. I'm not sure, but we'll find out. As you said before, and we were talking about, track conditions are almost perfect. So that probably plays into the decision to try the alternate strategy. Hari Aria back out. He's also had to change a front wing. I think we almost need a front wing counter here.
Yeah, 10.4 seconds in the box, so that was a case of having to go up on the jacks. And speaking of which, there goes Kent Nielsen. He's around at turn 1.
Yep, Nielsen around at turn 1. And was there contact? I don't know. We'll have a look. Strange spot to be off the track because he's wide at the exit of 1. Let's run it deep. Oh, there has been contact.
Nowhere to go. If you use the car in front as a braking reference and you both run off, that's troubles. Into the pits comes Marcel. Marcel Fassbender will now make the call to dive in and get an undercut.
It's very interesting. So this changes the absolute strategy at the front. I'm thinking that Marcel's decided, hey, Tobias Sal's got pace. He's got clean track. Jacob Reed's got pressure from probably the fastest car on track. Martinez has been quick, but has been very, very clever about how he's used his speed. Fassbender in the pits is probably not a bad ploy to try and get the lead back, get a bit of an undercut. Couple of laps on fresh tyres might be the difference.
It might be. He also will have to go through a bit of the traffic. It's 5 seconds between Sal and Kamaya out there, out and away. 4.2 seconds on the lane. It's a long wait for the green commitment cone. It's right down the end. Now up to speed he'll go. And watch out on the right-hand side or the left-hand side of the screen. That's Tobias Sal. He crucially jumps ahead of him by about a second. Oh my word, what would he have done if he did not spin the car?
Sal will be in the lead, and have a look straight away. Jacob Reed in to respond. I'm not too surprised by this.
I'm not surprised either. He has to cover off Marcel Fassbender for his championship. The moment he saw him come in, he knew that he had 1 lap and it had to be a good one.
Yep, 1 lap was all he had and had to make it perfect. Have a look at this while we wait for the pit stop. Have a look at what's happened back in the field. This is Kent Nielsen and Anthony Catt. Turn 1. And a little bit of traffic. A little bit of lap traffic there, and then all of a sudden, hang on, we make contact. Let's just make it 3 wide. Beautiful pincer move there by Anthony Catt to get through.
Not bad at all there in terms of just skirting out of trouble. Now here's the key. Down the lane goes Jacob Reed, and how far away is he, or how far ahead is he? Because where is Marcel Fassbender? That's Kamaya. There's Marcel Fassbender on the brakes. This is going to be a big race here to try and get out in front. He just about manages it, but gap is back to where it was. Traffic not going to help, and this is for position, so that'll be dirty air through the next corner. Marcel Fassbender's got to have a rocket ship. Yep,
Fassbender's got to make sure that he does this perfectly. As you said, traffic is going to play a bit more of a factor here. Jacob Reed through on Kamaya. Kamaya not letting Fassbender through straight away.
It's for position.
Yeah, it is for position.
Oh, look at this. This is like nails right now on the chalkboard for Marcel Fassbender. Just about makes the pass. Gets tyres in the grass to go along with it as well. And look at how much time it has cost him trying to get past Florian Kamaya. 1.5 seconds, and there is no love lost between the 2 drivers from Club DH.
Yep, there will be a fair bit of disappointment in the eyes of Marcel Fassbender after that. He would have liked to have got through a little bit easier, but positive is he's still got pace. He's got fresh, soft tyres. Got a little bit that he can use in them. And not even halfway through the race yet. We've still got 42 laps to go, so there's still plenty of action that can happen in this one.
And you look at the group in front. Manzato, Nielsen, Catt, O'Regan and Vaughan. Alexander will have to be traversed as well. All of those drivers, you look around, you go, that is a lot of sticking points in a race for Jacob Reed. It is very much like him trying to get through a maze of flypaper.
It's going to be no easy overtakes in this race, but when you look at the guys that are in this group, you can definitely see there's no easy overtakes because you're not going to get past any of these guys simply. All of these guys are going to fight. All of these guys are going to try and hold their position. They know that they're battling for position. Sure, they're on different strategies, but it is still for position, all of these spots. So they will not let them go easy at all. Interesting. Have a look at this. Marcel Fassbender. Rear wing. Already back open. Remember, it was 1.5 seconds. It's already down to nothing.
And that is all about dirty air for Jacob Reed. Could not dispatch the lap down traffic of Seb Alexander that he had to go through. This is what they have to navigate through next. And this is a fantastic train behind Kent Nielsen now at this point, because Manzato has been overtaken. Cat next, O'Regan next, Vaughan next. They all want to get through. Everyone's next, and it's Q Central.
Reagan having a little look there at Anthony Cat, decided he better not. This very, very quickly, we had it up as a graphic of 5 cars. I think if I put it up again, I think it'll be 8.
8.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like 8 to me. Yeah, that's 8. No other way around it. That counts up to 8.
Let's see, Jacob Reed. Yep, he's got DRS as well. So 7 cars have DRS in this group. This could end in absolute disaster at turn 1.
It can, and that is just here. There's Cesare Manzato. He's looking for some slipstream. Ken Nielsen's the worst person in this group to have on the front. He fights for everything he does, and he covers everything off then. On the brakes, they go into the opening stages. Lift off then from Timothy Vaughan. He wants none of the front of this field in terms of what they have to go through. And all the while, the more they get stuck here, as there's a little search and read up the inside of O'Regan, not going to happen. Martinez gains advantage.
Yeah, this is playing into Martinez's hand perfectly. Vaughan gets out of the way for Reed, Fassbender and Sal. O'Regan moves aside and lets Jacob Reed through, and Marcel Fassbender just gets chopped off a little bit there from Paul O'Regan.
And Sal off the road behind. He'll lose a lot of time by making that small mistake. Paul O'Regan here, who has every right to fight for that position as close as you get. Look at Jacob Reed. He was right on the back of the driver there on the inside, almost making contact with Anthony Cat. Full position. Cat trying to hold that inside line. Just about gets enough room. Now Marcel Fassbender's got to try and pick a pivot.
Where do you go? How do you get through? How do you actually work out where to put your car to get positions here? This is so difficult for these guys out on track. Emily Van Camp in the pits, probably the best place to be while these guys fight at it. Anthony Cat lets Fassbender through. Does not let O'Regan and Salback through, though.
Nope, no chance there of that happening. Anthony Cat very much saying, I'm going to fight you for it, but it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world. And now the chase very much on, using the slipstream here onto the backstretch once again. Now it's Cesare Manzato who needs to be dispatched off here by Jacob Reed. This is like trying to duel into rush hour traffic. Big power move. Manzato got well out of the way. Marcel Fassbender was not waiting for anything.
Look at the difference in pace as well. So Martinez has just got a nice leisurely Friday night drive and matches Jacob Reed for pace, who is in one of the most high-intensity battles that he'll find himself throughout the season as he gets through traffic. This is a lot more intense than I'm sure he would have liked it to be. Ken Nielsen goes, no thank you. Anthony Cat says, I'm out as well. Time for pit stops at the halfway point of the race.
Yellow helmet syndrome into the pits for Kent Nielsen. He wanted none of that. And he was absolutely on it and away. And I know I don't either. George Van Rensburg also into the lane. And you wouldn't want to be in front of Jacob Reed, who is running for everything he's got, and Marcel Fassbender, who's chasing for everything he's got.
I wouldn't want to be out on track with these guys, let alone on track in front of these guys as they're trying to come through. No thank you. They'll just run me over anyway. So, I'm saying that there's a fat chance of us getting on track with these guys considering their pace. Here comes Sal past Manzato, who's still going on those original soft tyres. There can't be much left in them.
No, and that's the key. How long do those go before he has to switch on to the mediums? It looks like he's really struggling in this race for any form of legitimate pace now. And the fact he keeps going backwards and backwards, he has to come in and get something there. 37.5 seconds the lead at the front for Jorge Martinez. That's not enough to come back out in front, but it is something for him where he knows that he will have a massive advantage on the tyres as Dan Piazza gets out of the way of the net-leading duo.
Interesting thing about looking at those times, though, is that last lap by was, now 0.7 of a second. Tobias Sal is doing 65-second flats. So he's trying to close that gap back down to Fassbender and Reed as quick as he can. And Martinez is just going out and just... He's very, very consistent in regards to his pace. The last few laps have all been 6.7s and 6.6s. So he's been very, very consistent. Oh, he's just lost it. He's just done a 6.8.
Oh, what a shame that is. A 6.8.
That's pathetic.
No, he's done incredible in terms of his pace on those mediums. Yes, he's losing a 1.5 seconds right now, but by the time he decides to come down into the pits, Jay, he's going to gain that time back on a fresh, soft tyre compared to everyone else who is pushing and burning the daylight right now.
He might not only just gain the time back in regards to matching the times that these guys are doing now, he might gain it plus more because they could have burnt the tyres past their proper usable life. If he can maintain this pace, maybe pick it up a tiny little bit, he's going to find himself in a very, very good position. Probably come out just behind Tobias Saal or a little bit back. But as you said, tyres are going to be well and truly in his favour. He'll close that gap down very, very quickly at that point of the race.
He absolutely will. Now, the keys here is that you've also got Jordan Gronkowski, who is about 4 seconds behind Jorge Martinez and isn't quite able to run the same pace, was about 0.2 off on that last lap and is just slowly falling backwards at this moment compared to the Spaniard, who some may argue if he was in for a full season, he'd be one of these title contenders. But you could have said that about a dozen different drivers this season who have all had wins or high finishes.
Had a pretty good season in regards to contenders, haven't we? What, the first 11 races, we had 11 different winners. So the fact that we've had so many drivers that have been up there pushing for victories and fighting for wins, fighting for podiums has been absolutely incredible and great to watch. Kent Nielsen around. So there's been a change of position between Anthony Catt and Paul O'Regan. I hope they are not linked.
No, I don't think they are here. Kent Nielsen very much just spins it in front of O'Regan and Catt just took advantage and straight on sweep round the outside and took 2 places. Then at turn 1, that was the magic formula getting sorted there. So here's the look in through turn 1. Just can't get the power down. It's right on that acceleration. You want to take that power through turn 2, but the torque's going to say everything otherwise. In comes Jorge Martinez then, who pits from the race lead, which allows Jordan Gronkowski laps at the front.
But did you see the huge lockup? He almost put it in the wall. Martinez. He almost put it in the outside pit wall. Watch the left-hand front tyre here. And through the corner.
Look.
Lock up. Oh, just had to lift out. Probably looked a little bit worse on TV angles, but would have been a little bit of a heart and mouth moment for him.
Well, it's the second time he's locked it up. The first time brought a little bit of contact. The second time was a little bit more troublesome. Now, there are going to be the drivers who will re-inherit the race lead. 1 second, 2 seconds. There's a lot of Mississippi's that's going to go through here. 4.3 seconds. They're already gone through turn 1. That is a big margin for Martinez to try and chase back down. That's somewhere, I would say, around the tune of 10 to 12 seconds now. He's going to have to try and magic up at this moment in time. And in fact, he'll only just come out ahead of Cesare Manzato, who's yet to pit.
Positive is, though, his tyres are 14 laps newer than Tobias Saal, 10 laps newer than Marcel Fassbender, and 9 laps newer than Jacob Reed. Remember, with Manzato, about 15 laps on his softs, we saw a huge drop-off of pace. It's sort of plateaued out a little bit since then, but we did see a big drop-off at about lap 15. So the first 15 laps, you can really push hard, and you've got a fair bit in it, and then it does drop away. Just noticed, too, as Martinez came out of the pits, had a little bit of a moment. Remember, we saw a moment from Tobias Saal. This was almost the same for Martinez. Watch this as he puts the power down out of the corner.
In through third gear, second gear. Oh, there's a dip there, isn't there? That's the key. There's a dip coming through that corner, and you have to be so committed and balanced and poised in the car. And with most drivers running to a low downforce package here today, they've not got that grip.
No grip through that little dip. No grip in most cars through that little segment as well. So, and it is the acceleration point, so you've got to be very, very careful. And I'm sure a lot of drivers have practiced it because you drive out of the pits, but the intensity level does rise when you're in race conditions. As Fassbender just closing that gap down to Jacob Reed and just saying, hey, I'm still here. Don't forget about me.
Just remember, he's got 33 laps here to make that move, which will soon be 32 when they cross the line. He is very much got every single possibility open to him, and he will use every single amount of dunamis available to him to try and find that pass. This is a case for Marcel Fassbender where he has just been given the keys to the cookie jar, and he's just realized, you know what? I think I'll wait till mum and dad are asleep before I go and start a snack.
I'm just trying to crunch some numbers in my head here, Sperry, and just see Timothy Vaughan having some trouble. Gronkowski still hasn't pitted yet. He's going to come back out around about where Martinez is. And his tyres are going to be so fresh when he comes back out.
They absolutely are, but
spot.
how long is he leaving it, and how late is he leaving it? That's the next question.
He's probably going to leave it to maybe now.
Yeah, like now, when he's just dived into the pits.
I said that because I saw him coming in, so I thought I could get away with that.
So in he comes to make his stop. This will allow all these drivers to gain their lap back, which will include the likes then of Anthony Catt, who is his main rival out there today. And imagine that, a lap on him in this race is huge. There's Timothy Vaughan. Oh, just struggling. Can't get any grip through the tyres, through the early sector of the lap. So easy to do, especially when you don't have confidence on newer tyres.
Yep. Didn't quite have the feel in the tyres yet. Fairly fresh out of the pits, and a little bit of a mistake there, but avoids damage, which is good. Martinez gets past Gronkowski, 4.6 seconds for Gronkowski. It's a slightly longer pit lane transit time than we've seen from other drivers, about a second longer. So Gronkowski is going to come out right with, that's Seb Alexander, who is one lap down.
So he's behind Cesare Manzato as well. So that's going to be a little bit troublesome. He's 8-9 seconds back of Jorge Martinez. So he'll need the tyres to work, but he's got a lot of time to make up over the final stages of this race. He's 20 seconds off of the race lead with 31 laps to go. I would not call that easiest place in the world to go get your places back.
No, not going to be too easy to get them back at all. So Gronkowski's going to have to work hard. Hope there's a little bit of misfortune from others, which, I mean, we've talked to a lot of the drivers in this series. I don't think anyone ever wishes misfortune on anyone, but in the back of your mind, you sort of hope that something happens.
You don't wish misfortune, but you just hope to capitalise on it should it happen.
Yeah, exactly right. You don't want someone to have bad luck or have something go wrong, but you want to be there if it does happen.
You absolutely do, and that is where the case is being made. Fastest lap bonus point is with Tobias Saal, and that should give him enough security as we're on board with Marcel Fassbender to hold 5th place in the championship.
Yep. 5th and 6th was a close fight, as was 7th and 8th. Who was in 8th?
A number of people were there.
My thing's not working, so I'll just we'll just do that. How's that? Connor Pooler was in contention, but Tobias Saal will take 5th with Connor being here. Shout out to Connor, who is in the YouTube chat, so he's watching along. A few drivers missing this round, unfortunately, for family commitments and other things.
It is Thanksgiving weekend, after all.
Is it?
So
I only knew it was Black Friday sales.
Well, traditionally, Black Friday is the Friday after Thanksgiving Thursday.
Look, I know. That's the only reason we know that it's Thanksgiving over this side of the world is because there's football on during the day, lunchtime American football on a Thursday for us, or Friday, I should say, and Black Friday sales. So that's about the only reason we know that it's on.
And the fact that the Lions always lose on Thanksgiving.
It's every game, don't they? Pretty much.
No, they're good this year.
I know they are. They're actually doing all right. And your team's going okay this year again, Sperry?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I've got the wrong team then. I have got the wrong team. You're doing better than me, though, are you not?
I am, but I also do not have a
Oh!
quarterback. Oh, straight on. Right on cue. Dan Piazza has gone down the escape road.
And look, that rear right wheel is off the ground, too. Something big's happened to that car.
That's a huge accident then over in the early stages, and that is contact with Anthony Catt, and Cat loses the place to Paul O'Regan, so I wonder how much damage he's got. That is about as big as it possibly gets here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Down the inside, smallest bit of contact tyre to tyre, and he ends up flying straight on, and yet it's the rear left tyre that ends up pretty much falling through. That suspension has caved in from the contact.
Yeah, so the rear left tyre is blown and the suspension has gone in it, and that's why the right-hand tyre was off the ground. Race ending. The pit lane, looking a bit sad. I've just seen there too, Jason Green's engine's just exploded in the pits, so his car's on fire in the pits, so hopefully someone can come and attend to that.
One of these days, iRacing will have the virtual crew come out and really put all those sorts of fires out to pasture as it goes through with all of the work that's done, likes of the Tempest system, and of course, the eyes of a couple things. Oh, look at it smouldering away. That is just a sad sight to see. But there's a number of things, Jay, that look so good for next season, which include the likes of Mugello.
Yeah, Mugello's going to be great, and already talks about it being on this schedule for next year, and a few other tracks that didn't make it on the schedule appear next year as well, as the final pit stop of the race potentially is now happening. Enzardo in. Do you know what's surprising me about this race, Sperry? The gap for the lead is within half a second, and we're hardly talking about it because we just know that something is brewing. They're not making overtakes. Marcel's just sitting there watching, just waiting for the right moment to make that move.
It's like watching professional chess players just move rooks around the board during an endgame. You know nothing's happening, really. They're just jockeying for position, and it's that sort of feel that you've got at the moment. Marcel Fassbender is jockeying for position, waiting for when he can make a definitive move in this race and really put the pressure on. Saying that, though, he locks up through turn one and will give a couple tenths back here to Jacob Reed. If not, put himself outside of a second if he's not careful.
9 tenths at the moment, 9 tenths still. No, he's safe. Green light's on, so he's able to get away with just the smallest little errors, isn't he? He's maintaining that gap almost perfectly. Drops back to about a second, and then all of a sudden he closes it back in again. Those gaps to the guys behind, Sal's dropped 5 seconds, Martinez is 5 seconds further back, and a further 5 seconds for Gronkowski. So those gaps, sorry, 9 seconds to Gronkowski. My math's not good. So it's really now, I think, Fassbender's like, hey, let's just drive nose to tail for a bit, continue to manage this gap, and then we can fight it out. Let all hell break loose with 5 to go, 10 to go, because then we don't have to worry about anyone else around.
Or you look at what that is in front of you, and you see that as a carrot on the stick. I think that's where maybe Marcel Fassbender's looking at, because they've gone through this once already in terms of when they came out of the pit. Now that they've all made their stops, you go through it again, the gauntlet will be raised once more.
Yeah, well, that's a good point you make there. There's every opportunity that now they'll just go, hey, let's try and work our way through the traffic again, and Marcel will go and follow Jacob Reed through at an overtake, or maybe use one of these lap cars or cars being lapped as a blocker and make a position up. It can happen and probably will happen more times than not, but I must say the traffic has been pretty good throughout this series for the most part, so they'll be aware of what's going on around them, and fingers crossed we don't see the traffic interfere too much, but just enough to keep the gap managed. We don't want to see it split out to 2, 3, 4 seconds.
It's about being clever with that traffic management, and that's what Jacob Reed is keeping his eyes focused on at this point. 25 laps to go here as the smoke in front from this corner starts to go through with the likes of Ken Nielsen and Adam Cohen and Timothy Vaughan, who are all there, all in the mix here. And that's what's next to try and get by and around, and that's going to be the focus. How do they get through and stay out of the way of these drivers here who are battling not just for a race win here today around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but for a championship as well. And these are the 2 most winningest drivers this season. 4 race wins this season for Marcel Fassbender. Jacob Reed has 5, and he is looking for win number 6 to crown the title.
When you think about it, we've only had 22 races, and these 2 between them have won 9 of the 22. that's a cool stat. But when you think that we had 11 different winners in the first 11 rounds, that's domination in the second half of the field. Anthony Cat in for a second stop. This is surprising. I'm thinking he's had some damage from that contact we saw with Dan Piazza. He's had to come in and get that fixed.
Yeah, so that's definitely something, as there's a bit of side-by-side in front of that group as they go through. And you also have to remember, Jacob Reed started off this season, when you go through to about Silverstone, he missed 6 rounds of the championship, a DNF at Imola, 2 fourths and 2 seconds. From there, he has had 1 finish outside of the top 3 and 1 non-start at Spa. It has been a Jekyll and Hyde season for Jacob Reed.
100% it has, and he's been great when he's been great, but when he hasn't, he's still been good. So he's had a very, very good season. Anthony Cat coming into the pits. That pit stop time tells you everything you need to know. If you've watched this series, raced in this series, you know that a 10-second pit stop means he's had to come in and change a front wing.
Yeah, and that front wing is massive. Now look at the gaps, though, here, as you got Vaughan out there just ahead of Adam Cohen. This is for 1 SimSpeed championship point. Behind is Jacob Reed. He's in shot. There's Marcel Fassbender. He's in shot. He's looking to try and get a little bit closer, but he's struggling to manage that as they now rush in towards turn 1 out here, running counter to what you would see for long oval-style races on this circuit, which, of course, naturally runs by turning left. Here, there's a lot of right-handers, a clockwise-based circuit.
Yeah, and I think it's a cool way to do the track. I mean, when the track was first released for Formula One back, was it 2004? 2003? 2000 was the first one. There's more races here than I thought. It sort of felt strange, but after they actually had that first race, it felt very, very natural and very cool, but it's still a bit bizarre when you see them coming up here to the exit of turn 1 and then turning away from that turn. It does still feel a little bit strange, but it's not as strange as it did when they first started racing here.
No, that is very true, and you do get that sense that this is a circuit which has had quite a few modifications for it. Now, out of the way then goes Adam Cohen, wants nothing of Jacob Reed. Now, will Marcel Fassbender be afforded the same luxury? Absolutely he will. So he will fly through and get himself forward. But that gap is hovering 9/10 of a second here. Marcel Fassbender now realizes that if he can't get himself within a second, look at it, it's just ticked over 1 second. He's got to be so concerned. He does get the DRS, but he knows that with every car in front, that will be advantage Jacob Reed. He's able to get a little bit of DRS like he does right now.
Yeah, so while it's great that Fassbender's still got
he's
the DRS...
off!
Oh, no.
Marcel's off! And he saves it, but look at how much he's pushing.
Well, he's trying hard to maintain this gap, and small little errors starting to creep into Marcel Fassbender's race. Uncharacteristic mistakes.
Well, they've been there all race long. He's been making a small mistake here, a small mistake there. Just locks up the front, overcarries it by about 3 meters. And that's all you need here in this series to go from hero to zero.
Gap now 2.2 seconds, 2.3 seconds, and no DRS on the front straight. The Marcel Fassbender now, has he just thrown away the SimSpeed Championship?
I don't think thrown away is the right word just yet, but he still has time to gather that back. He's been incredibly quick on his own pace, on his own hunches, on his own laurels, but now Jacob Reed knows that he's got 1 lap fresher tyres, and he is seeing his rival behind make mistakes. This has been a championship that he knows that he wants to get on, and how fitting is it here that with these Mercedes W13 performances, it's the title decider between a Brit and a German.
Very cool that we've had such a fantastic championship the whole way through. And you're right, a German versus a Brit to round off a championship season in Formula Cars feels very fitting. It feels almost as if it was meant to be. How many years in real world Formula racing have we seen a Brit and a German fight it out for a championship win? Feels like almost every year except for the last couple.
Yeah, it really has been that sort of feeling. The two powerhouses, you could say, of motorsport out there. Of course, the United Kingdom and Germany have both been incredible at producing racing talent. And that is what we're seeing here. And it reflects in sim racing that this racing talent is able to show itself and showcase itself here over the course of a full year, as there is a very despondent Anthony Cat going slow through 10 and 11.
Yeah, he's having all sorts of trouble out there. It just has not gone his way today. The car's damaged, obviously, from that incident we saw before. Sure, he got a new front wing, but it's just not functioning, behaving as it should. That's uncharacteristic. That's not Anthony Cat's driving style to have mistakes like that. That's definitely car behaviour from that incident earlier on.
And how weird is it to have the car snap at turn 9 of all places?
Doesn't make sense, does it? That's why I'm saying it has to be the way the car has responded from that incident earlier on. It just doesn't make sense for it to be driver error that's caused that incident. We've been talking about the gap between Reed and Fastbender for a long time, but have a look at this gap. Tobias Sal is feeling the pressure from Jorge Martinez, closing that gap back down as we sort of thought. Now 30 laps into a stint is Sal. You've still got 18 more to do. Martinez is only halfway through his stint because he's only 16 laps in. So Martinez can push a bit more and start to apply some pressure to Tobias Sal. Maybe cause Tobias Sal's tyres to just go altogether.
Well, the issue that you got is that Jorge Martinez is running the same pace as Jacob Reed and Marcel Fastbender. Tobias Sal is the only driver in the top 5 who can't.
Yeah, and Sal pitted first, remember. So is he having to protect the tyres and make sure that he makes them last? Has he pushed too hard too early? Remember, he did set the fastest lap of the race on his 3rd lap out of the pits. Did he go too hard too early and now has nothing left in the tyre?
Well, that's going to be the next question. And then you look around and see what he did on the start of his stint here, Jane. You realise, well, did he scrub the tyres immediately?
Very good point. I had forgotten about that. So, yeah, there's lots of interesting factors around why this pace has gone away. Sal's just done his fastest lap in a few laps. Just then as he punches in his first 105 for probably 8 or 9 laps. So, Sal now realising that gap's closing down. It's down under 2 seconds now for Martinez. Still pulled about half a tenth of a second on that lap, but since turn 1, he's already closed that gap down a little bit further.
Yeah, and that's going to be the crucial point of contention entirely here for Jorge Martinez and Tobias Sal, is that Martinez is just reeling him in one sector at a time, one corner at a time, and is just trying to manage every single area of this track that he possibly can. And this is where, if you are Tobias Sal, you just look behind and you almost have that bit of resignation as you go through. You know that you've got to keep the pace up to keep the gap up, but you know that you're fighting effectively. Whoa, that's way off the road. Who was that who found themselves miles off there? That's Adam Cohen.
Yeah, Cohen's just, it's not where you should be at the second last corner. That grass doesn't need mowing from anyone within the iRacing set.
No, absolutely not. They've got their own dedicated staff here, as they would naturally do. They've even got their own golf course in the middle of this circuit, believe it or not, through the penultimate corner. And this is just back starting to go, and then the snap of the torque.
Strange one again, is it? We've seen a fair few strange incidents in this race, haven't we? There've been a lot of bizarre stuff going on. This battle's been going on. I remember we watched these two cars fight and have some overtakes. What was it, lap 7, 8, 9, 10? After that front five had broken away, Van Rensburg and Van Camp, when Emily Van Camp was making her way through. Now back together again. Emily Van Camp has had some great pace in this stage of the race.
She has. It's a battle of who's going to win of the fluorescent pink and blues in this one, because they are very much very similar in terms of their colour coordination of liveries. And Emily Van Camp as George Van Rensburg. I guess the Vans are out there in force. Everyone's trying to get themselves a step up.
This is the battle of who wins the Southern Hemisphere fight. South African versus the Australian.
Well, you know the answer if it was rugby.
Well, it definitely wouldn't be Australia, would it?
No,
or England.
Not at this stage. Well, no, it's not going to be us either. We're not that brilliant at the moment. But still, you got the chance to find the pass at turn 1. DRS is there, but look at the speed of George Van Rensburg on the straight. 3:07 with no DRS.
Yep, very, very quick pace. Van Rensburg, you can see the difference in the rear wing. We haven't talked about it too much, but there's Van Rensburg's rear wing. There's a different shape for Van Camp. So there's the difference in the rear wings. Shows you the difference in downforce packages that they both are running.
And that difference is mega at this moment in time, because it is the difference between staying in front or losing that spot. And that's where you have to have that focus, that all-important focus in a race like this for these drivers. George van Rensburg has had a fantastic run of form ending this season. Emily Van Camp, she's been sporadic in terms of her appearances, but when she's been here, she has been quietly confident.
Yep, 100% true. Emily has done a very, very good job the races that she has been able to attend. A bit like me, some mornings it's hard to get out of bed. She obviously living in Melbourne, so not too far away from my neck of the woods. I mean, still a fair way away, but when you compare it to you and I, Sperry, very, very close.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key here, is that these drivers all have to race at one designated time. Around the world, there will be many people who will look around and go, I am not waking up at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to go out there and race this championship. No way, no how. I'm going to take a different split and I'm not going to race this one. This is the ultimate championship in terms of endurance, because you have to effectively change the entire way you think, and you have that schedule that you go through, be it Friday night, be it Saturday morning, be it even Friday afternoon for some people on the American Peninsula who will find it very difficult to race this series.
Yeah, I mean, the time slot is designed for the Europeans, but that also in itself means that you're going to have the best competition in this style of racing, isn't it? So if you want to beat the best, you've got to race against the best, and that means getting yourself up at bizarre o'clock to come and race in this series. Sure, it's not the perfect time, but it is a great time for racing. I mean, it's early on a Saturday morning for us here, so you can go back to bed afterwards if you don't have anything else you can do. Or you can go and play cricket afterwards and stand out in the sun and get sunburnt for 3.5 hours.
Well, I thought it was going to get rained off today for you. You didn't want to bat.
Probably, well, there's no rain out the window at the moment, but we had 30 millimetres of rain overnight, which is, for those of you in the Freedom system, that's just over 1.25 inches of rain overnight. Baseball fans will know that you can't really play when it's raining heavily. Cricket is exactly the same. Yeah, the ground's too wet, damages the ball. No fun for either team.
I've just had a look at Marcel Fassbender, and he's almost taken a second out of the last 2 laps here against Jacob Reed. This is a big stint of the race for Marcel Fassbender. He's keeping that pace up. Jacob Reed is starting to slowly suffer.
Has Fassbender just used those last 5, 6, 7 laps just to hay and serve, get his rhythm back, bring some something back in the tyres, not pushing it too hard, and just giving Jacob Reed that false sense of security, paying attention to what's going on behind him.
No, he's gone!
Oh, no.
Just like that, Marcel Fassbender has spun it, and any hopes of championship now rely in disaster.
Wow. Just when we thought that things were starting to heat up, they've changed complexion in a totally different way. We just saw this incident for Adam Cohen. It's identical. Just a different paint on the car, absolutely identical incident.
You are always balancing on the edge of grip through turn 13. You are always dicing and fighting, and all of a sudden, it's now a 10-second gap at the front. Fassbender versus Saal versus Marquez.
Yeah, it's turned into a 3-way fight for 2 positions on the podium now. This is crazy how much this race has changed. This is not how I expected this race to end, and that battle between Van Rensburg and Van Camp is still going as well, so we're going to have a fantastic grandstand finish to this race, just not in the way we expected it to happen.
A grandstand end to a championship, you could say as well, with 11 laps to go here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This has been a race befitting of a championship, and the podium still not secured here because Jorge Marquez has just been quietly chipping away at this gap against Tobias Saal, has got himself in range, but Saal is doing just enough to hold on to that final stage of the podium, and Tobias Saal would absolutely love to jump up onto that podium. He's had just the one this season, a second place finish at Spa, but that goes away as Marquez takes the place.
Yeah, nice move from Marquez. Gets it done relatively easy in the end. And remember, we've said that Marquez is going to be one to watch here. Got the best tyres in this group. 10 laps better than Fassbender, 14 laps better than Sales. Sales' tyres are probably on the end of their life, with limping them home for 10 laps. Fassbender's got a little bit left, but they're now going to be hyperheated from that incident. So Marquez's chance to pounce is now. He needs to do it in the next 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah, he's got to go out there as Jorge Marquez, and if he wants to try and bring that gap down and show the pace he's got, Marcel Fassbender right now, you could say, is vulnerable out there here today. He has been pushing with everything he's got, and you wonder right now, with the gap he's got here to try and chase down, that this is going to be a nigh-on impossibility. Jacob Reed, if he wants to in this race, can dial it back to about 95%. And bring it home from here. He's got that gap, and he's earned that from not making mistakes. This group, though, second, third, and fourth, he will have even more of a margin if Jorge Marquez can find that pass in these bitterly cold November conditions.
Track has really cooled off, hasn't it? It's definitely dropped in temperature throughout. Has fluctuated a tiny little bit, but yeah, one thing about the tyres is they would have taken a little bit longer to get up to temperature than what we would normally see. Van Camp, here we go. No, still can't get the move done.
Oh, 2 takes trying to get through the corner as well. Definitely searching here against George Van Rensburg, who's going to struggle through the corners, try and make every pass happen. Emily Van Camp here is going to have to try and do something counter-productive, so to speak, in terms of how you go through. Counter to the ordinary. Look how wide George Van Rensburg's going here, all the way out onto the dirty side of the circuit to try and get any form of straight line speed.
Be careful going too wide there, because you can get yourself a penalty, a slow down penalty for running it a little bit too wide at that point. Have a look at this battle here now. It's closed right up between Marquez and Fassbender.
And Jorge Marquez would love to end this season with second place and show that he's still very much got the pace that's there. Wider lines being taken by Marcel Fassbender, who is desperate to try and shake off everything that's there. And looking here at the straight, no chance then of making that move and getting that overtake sorted. So it's going to be a horrible, horrible wait to see whether that will be second for Marcel Fassbender or not at this moment in time.
Fassbender's now in conservation mode, isn't he? He's gone from attack to conserve, attack to defend. Really be able to defend for 7 laps. I don't know if he's going to have enough left to be able to hold on for this long.
Well, it's a massive shift in the psyche as well. You're out there trying to be aggressive, trying to gain places on this driver there in the traditional livery, trying to make the move, and then all of a sudden you have to switch your mindset from being hunter to hunted. Not ideal.
No, and it's a difficult mindset to get yourself to and from as well, especially when you've got to do it like a flick switch as well. So that does differentiate the good from the okay drivers. Fassbender's been good at doing that throughout the season, but there's so much on the line for him as well. Is he going to be able to do it at the end? I mean, he's secured the iRacing Championship, but he would have liked to have secured both in this race. Stage, it's not going to be in his favour. Jacob Reed is doing enough to hold on. Comes Van Camp and Rensburg. Van Rensburg just had a huge lockup.
A huge lockup, but he was able to keep it together. He's got to cover every single stage off then through 1 and 2 and in through 3 as well. And off the road goes Marcel Fassbender, and that will put Marquez through.
Yep, Fassbender back to third. Tobias Sale now close enough to potentially pounce on this. So this is huge for this race. Really lose another spot.
It's been all about lockups for Marcel Fassbender. He's been struggling with the brakes all day. There's not been much wind. There's not been much to really go through. Just hasn't had the margin there. This is the Van Camp pass as Fassbender now finds himself back in 4th position. Van Camp to the outside, and then big lockup on the inside. I tell you what, he's trying to use everything to get that G'd up. Both feet straight to the floor, and that is just pushing a little bit too hard. Marcel Fassbender compounding mistakes.
Yep. Just he's pushing too hard now, unfortunately for him, and obviously lost that lost that position down the front straight because at the activation point, he was the lead car, so he didn't get DRS down the front straight. We talked about that before the race. It's such a long gap between the activation point and when you actually can turn it on. Sorry, the detection point and the activation point. So it did hurt Fastbender there. He couldn't use the DRS down the front straight. He can this time, though. Will he be able to close it back in on Tobias Sal and still steal a podium? 5 laps to go.
Well, he's absolutely closing, but he won't get close enough to make a move. He backs out of it this lap, but it probably gives him everything he wants for this next attempt. Remember, Tobias Sal has the worst tyres of everybody in this group because he has been the longest on that set, so he'll be looking around going, well, how much is left there in terms of what I have to scrabble about with? We expect he's down to maybe, at worst, on terms of his levels on his tyres, about 40% is probably what we're looking at the moment for how bad he is. And you talk about this as a tyre, that anything below 80% is trouble. Here comes another little look then for the pass round the outside. Emily Van Camp, can she get any angle in? There's contact and Netco to boot. Front wing gets demolished then for George Van Rensburg. He's lucky he'll get it back. But just like that, that battle ends in, I would say, a tragedy.
Yeah, and mechanical black flag as well for Van Rensburg as well.
George.
Yeah, didn't deserve the battle to end that way, but sadly that's what happens sometimes in internet racing. I mean, as good as it is, sometimes unfortunate things happen, and a little bit of contact, wheel-to-wheel contact, nose-to-wheel contact, and that's enough to bring out the mechanical black flag for him. He'll have to drive it into the pits. He may actually be able to limp it around and finish the race off, but I think he'll probably have to bring it in. Car is heavily damaged. He's pulled it over.
Yeah, he's going to tow that one, and that's a real shame, and that really has summed up his season. If he hasn't had bad luck, he's had no luck.
100%. Wasn't for bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. So, yeah, Van Rensburg, when he's been good, he's been so brilliantly good. Really pulled out some great performances, but yeah, just the luck has not been in his favour. A little mistake there for Tobias Sal. Just a small error, not quite enough for Fastbender to capitalise, but I'm sure Fastbender's eyes opened up and gone, hey, I'm applying enough pressure here to maybe get a mistake out of him. 3 more attempts, 3 laps to go.
This is for pride, for a final spot on the podium here between these two. Tobias Sal, who only has a second-place finish at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. For one, Mr. Marcel Fastbender, he's had ups, he's had downs, he's had all arounds, including a sluggish start to the season, which he was able to gather back up in the middle. Went a bit missing for about 4 or 5 rounds, allowed Jacob Reed back in, but has finished with fantastic form in this championship. Does he have enough to make a move here into 7? Answer's no for now.
I think he's going to wait for that last lap, isn't he? He's just going to try and plan his move. He's going to plan when he can get the overtake done. If he can't get it right here, right now, he's going to wait for turn 1 on the last lap. But there's a risk with that. If you can't get it done, there's not really many opportunities left, if any. So he's really got to plan this move out perfectly. 2 to go. Will he be able to do it this time? He's not close enough, you would think. I don't think he's going to do it. He's going to save battery. Oh, he's going to go for it.
He's going to move. He's going to move. I thought he was absolutely in the wheelhouse there. Tobias Sal gives no resistance, no battery to try and defend with, and he is very much saving it, knowing that he'll have a lap to try and go through. But Marcel Fastbender in front with clean air, with the ability to attack. How much can Tobias Sal really stay on those tyres with? That gap has already extended out to 0.6 of a second. That will close down a little bit with a lap and a bit to go.
Gronkowski also, just to add a curveball here, is he close enough to maybe steal this spot on the last lap from Tobias Sal? He's only 3 seconds back, 2.5 seconds back. He's closing quick. I don't think Tobias Sal's got anything left in the tyre.
Well, he has DRS, and that's the key. White flag on the iRacing Grand Prix Tour for 2023 as Barney waves with everything he's got and then some. There goes Martinez. There will now go Fastbender and Sal, and Gronkowski, who is there as well in 5th, trying to get close enough to take a couple of positions back. Not quite there for Saal through turn 1, and you feel like turn 7 is a little bit too far away for him on a driver who was trying to think about a crowning glory achievement, the double here of a SimSpeed championship and an iRacing championship as well. That, unfortunately, as things stand, is dashed in this race because we are just a handful of corners away from the end of the season, and this driver here has turned up with a rich vein of form. He has put together one of the most scintillating second halves of the season. Hungaroring, Zandvoort, Monza, Suzuka, Magny-Cours. He'll put Indianapolis in that book as well. A rubber stamp befitting of his name. Jacob Reed will come to life. He is your iRacing Grand Prix Tour SimSpeed champion.
Well done to Jacob Reed. Fantastic series from him. And Marquez finishes in second, but congratulations to Marcel Fassbender. He will win the iRacing official championship and win it comfortably in the end. Well-deserved champions for both of them. Shout out to Jacob Reed. The thing that makes his championship even more spectacular is he doubled it up in the second half of the season, racing in the Dallara IRO1 World Championship at the same time. Absolutely fantastic pace. When you think that he's raced in two completely different cars and had pace, such brilliant pace in this car while racing at World Championship level at the same time is incredible. Marcel Fassbender, though, have to take your hat off to him. Thoroughly deserving of the iRacing Championship, the year-long championship officially. He has been absolutely spectacular within that.
He has, and he's been quietly racking up those points and the consistency that's there, and has done so ahead of Anthony Katz, who, despite having a bad round today and not scoring SimSpeed points, will still be one of the most important achievements of his season out there overall. It has been such a long and difficult challenge of ups and downs. Over 90 drivers have found themselves in the SimSpeed Championship looking to score points. And the key is that Jacob Reed was the one driver who did not make a mistake. Picks it up, 1 hour, 21 minutes, 24 seconds. And look at that, he'll do some doughies as well to show that celebration. Wins by 7 seconds over Jorge Martinez, with Marcel Fassbender's late spins costing him the mistakes, meaning it's third only for him. Tobias Saal will finish just off the podium in fourth with his tyres giving up late. Jordan Gronkowski leaving a little bit too long to chase that gap down in fifth position. Emily Van Kamp will take sixth position despite contact with George Van Rensburg late, as Paul O'Regan will get a well-deserved and quiet seventh place ahead of Kent Nielsen, Timothy Vaughan and Adam Cohen, making it 3 Oz NZ drivers inside of the top 10. On the outside looking in for points is Anthony Cat, 11th place on a day where he really didn't have much to show for it, and a real shame, and not the sort of drive he was looking to end his season with, as Florian Kameyer finished off in 12th ahead of Edward Apari-Ari, the two coming together on lap 1. Cesare Manzato would be 2 laps down along with Seb Alexander. George Van Rensburg would not be able to make it to the checkered flag. He didn't find a finish. And then those 3 drivers, Dan Piazza, Doriano Ricciuti and Jason Green, are retirees here in this 19-car field to end out the season. Jay, quite simply put, a fantastic season, a magical season, and one of the true seasons that you look at and go, this could have gone a million different ways, but at the end of the day, you have to turn up, you have to find form, you have to find victories. And that second half of the season run from Jacob Reed, I think goes without saying, is one of the great runs here in SimSpeed history.
100%. Been absolutely brilliant second half for him. And today, well, it came down to who made the least number of mistakes, didn't it? Mistakes, unfortunately, uncharacteristic mistakes, unfortunately, cost Marcel Fassbender, and Jacob Reed made the least mistakes today and takes the victory in the championship from it. Didn't have the pole, but still come through and took the win.
And a crucial win at that. And this pretty much sets the scene for an off-season right now. Drivers will have the chance over the Christmas break to really relax and rewind and, you know, give themselves the opportunity to look back at what's happened. And they know that by the time that March rolls around, they will have a brand new championship, a brand new calendar, a brand new opportunity to say, this is what we're capable of doing. And that, I think, is going to be what's really cool. 2024, I think, is up in the air for anybody to take.
Yeah, I think if you are willing to give yourself a bit of time, a bit of practice, and put your heart and soul into it, you can definitely achieve big things in this championship. Been a fun championship throughout too, Sperry, and thank you for jumping in throughout and joining me and making this series what it is.
Pleasure's mine, and the pleasure, of course, is for everybody else who has been here, who has watched over the course of the season. It is always a pleasure to bring Grand Prix style racing, Formula racing, here with iRacing. There is simply nothing better in my mind. This has been the iRacing Grand Prix Tour. The tour has reached its conclusion at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but what's another year? 2024 will be here before you know it, and just like that, a new championship will dawn very, very soon.